Welcome to a new video about the First World War. In this video, we will be taking an in-depth look at the causes, events, and aftermath of one of the most devastating conflicts in history. In 1914, Europe was a powder keg of political tensions and alliances. The main causes of the war include imperialism, nationalism, alliances, and the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary on June 28, 1914, by Gavrilo Princip, a member of a Yugoslav nationalist organization. This event set off a chain reaction of events that would lead to the outbreak of the First World War. The war quickly spread, with countries such as Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire forming the Central Powers and Britain, France, and Russia forming the Allied powers. The United States would later join the war on the side of the Allies. The war quickly bogged down into trench warfare, with both sides fighting for control of a few miles of land. The conditions in the trenches were brutal, with soldiers living in mud and filth, and facing constant danger from enemy fire and gas attacks. Some of the major battles that took place during the trench warfare include the Battle of Verdun and the Battle of the Somme. Despite the stalemate in the trenches, there were major battles fought, such as the Battle of Gallipoli, the Battle of Jutland, and the Battle of Passchendaele. These battles resulted in huge losses of life, with little gain for either side. It was not only fought on land but also naval, air, and on colonies, Asia, and Africa. In 1918, the tide of the war began to turn, and the Allies were able to push back the Central Powers. The war finally came to an end with the signing of the Treaty of Versailles on June 28, 1919. The treaty had several provisions, including the War Guilt Clause, which put the blame of the war solely on Germany, which would later cause tension leading to the Second World War. Over 15 million people were killed, and the world was forever changed. The First World War was a defining moment in history, one that marked the end of an era and the beginning of a new world order. We will remember the sacrifices of the soldiers who continued to fight and died for their countries, and we will honor the memory of all those affected by the war. For the soldiers who returned home, the war had a profound impact on their lives. Many suffered from physical and mental injuries, and struggled to readjust to civilian life. The war also had a devastating impact on civilians, with entire towns and villages being destroyed and entire populations being displaced. The war also had a major impact on the political landscape of Europe. One of the most significant events was the Russian Revolution, which saw the overthrow of the Tsarist government and the rise of the Soviet Union. The revolution had a profound impact on the course of the war and the shape of the post-war world. The war also brought about major social changes, such as the increased participation of women in the workforce. As men were sent to fight, women were called upon to fill the roles that they had left behind. This marked the beginning of a new era of women's rights and equality. In an effort to prevent future wars, the League of Nations was established, which was an international organization that aimed to prevent war through diplomacy and collective security. Though the League of Nations was a well-intentioned idea, it was ultimately ineffective in preventing the outbreak of World War II. The First World War was a tragedy of unprecedented proportions. It was a war that claimed the lives of millions and left the world forever changed. We must remember the sacrifices of those who fought and died, and work to ensure that such a devastating conflict is never repeated again. The First World War was a tragedy of unparalleled proportions. It was a war that claimed the lives of millions and forever changed the world. As we remember the sacrifices of those who fought and died, let us also remember the lessons of the past. War is never the answer, and the only way to ensure peace is through understanding, communication, and mutual respect. Let us strive for a world where conflicts can be solved through diplomatic means, and where peace and understanding prevail. Thank you for watching.